Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Expert says you cannot achieve financial freedom by holding 20,000 XRP. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so thought I'd get into this because when I saw it, I thought, this is an interesting topic to discuss. And for me, I want to just give you some food for thought in regards to this, because I think when you think about this, I think it's really about perspective. So I want to really discuss this topic. So the actual person who spoke about this, they didn't name in the article, but let's really get into what they're saying. So they're talking about with 20,000 tokens, XRP tokens. Now, I know for some people who probably listen to this, that's a lot of tokens, right? Like there's people who may not even have 20,000 tokens. So, people might be hearing this and thinking, oh my God, like 20,000 tokens. That's a lot. Like some of us haven't got that much XRP, right? There's some of us who just haven't even got that much as it is. So you might be hearing this and getting very, concerned. So in this scenario, because this is a hypothetical, just for the record, the person in question is saying that if XRP was to reach $100, those 20,000 tokens would then be worth, 2 million. But he's saying that wouldn't make the person, financially free. So, let's get into why he's saying that. So he's saying the point is that hitting a big number does not automatically guarantee long-term security. Taxes, living expenses, unexpected costs, and lifestyle inflation can quickly reduce what seems like a large sum. Okay, so what financial freedom really looks like. From this perspective, true financial freedom requires a much larger cushion. The XRP community figure suggests that most people would need between 5 million and 7 million to live without financial stress, depending on age, location, and lifestyle. The key takeaway is that financial freedom is not just about hitting a price target, it's about sustainability, long-term planning, and understanding how money works in the real world. In other words, price appreciation alone may not solve everything, and portfolio size matters just as much as price targets. Okay, so the thing for me here, what I wanted to discuss about this is, I definitely understand the point that he's trying to make, right? But the thing that I will say here is this, okay? This all comes down to, some of the points that he actually made here. He's saying, it's about sustainability, long-term planning, understanding how money works in the real world. And that's the thing where I feel like I get what he's saying, but you can kind of counter that with his own logic, right? Because let's put it like this. If you do get 2 million from XRP, let's just say hypothetically you do, because this is the thing, right? We're going with the hypothetical of XRP hitting $100. I've said to you guys before, 3 digits for XRP is possible. That is possible. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it was going to happen, when it would happen, but it is possible, right? That's not unrealistic. It's possible. Now, if let's just say that was to happen, it could possibly hit higher than $100. It could be more than $100. So it could be that your money for one could be higher than 2 million, right? In that scenario. Or if you've got less XRP, you could still maybe reach 2 million with less XRP because the price goes higher. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, just talking about what he was saying himself, long-term planning, understanding how money works, sustainability. So this is the thing. Look, there's certain things that are just like out of your control. So for example, like inflation. So if, the price of your shopping is just going up, getting your groceries, whatever, that's just stuff that you can't change, right? It's just one of those things. The price is going up, You can't do anything about it. But the things that you can do is the way you spend, right? So for me, I've always said it like this on my channel. To me, financial freedom is different to being rich, right? Rich to me is you can just do what you want. You've got enough money to go and, do whatever you want. And when I say whatever you want, I suppose I mean within reason, because you could have, for example, someone who's a millionaire, but they can't do the same things that a billionaire could do. So obviously, when I say rich, I mean, if you've got $1 million or if you've got a couple million in the bank, if you just want to go on holiday, literally the next day, if you just want to jump on a plane and go on holiday the next day to somewhere like very exotic and expensive, you can afford to do that. Or if you want to just go and buy like a Lamborghini just for the fun of it, you can just afford to do that. That to me is what rich is, right? Financially free and financial freedom to me is basically you can do these things, but maybe on a different scale, but you're not having to work, right? Because if let's just say, for example, you can quit your job and you can still go on holiday. Now, don't get me wrong, your holiday might not look the same as someone who's rich. So you may not be able to go and, hire out an island or whatever, or do some crazy stuff like that. But you can still go on holiday. Like if you just wanted to go to, a nice country for a week, you can afford to do that. And it's not going to put you in a position where, oh no, I'm going to need to go and get a job. You can go and get a car, but maybe the car won't be a Lamborghini. Maybe it's a Mercedes or something like that. So you can still get a nice car, but maybe it's a thing of, I can't go and get this Porsche or this Lamborghini, but I can go and get a nice Mercedes or a BMW or something like that. I can still get a decent car. And you're not going to need to work. To me, that's what financial freedom is. Financial freedom is still being able to do these things to a certain level, but you're not having to work. And so for me, when I look at this, what I think it's more about is, can you budget your money, right? Now, as I said earlier, there's certain parts of this that you're not going to be able to control. So if inflation gets like crazy and it's just like, you're having to pay so much more now for, your shopping and stuff, that it gets out of hand and then it is getting out of control. Well, that's not something that's your fault, because you can't control what happens with inflation, right? That's just something that you can't help. But if you can budget properly and you can make your money stretch, then that is in your control, right? So my thing is like, if you can make this money work, so let's just say, maybe you've got like $1 million or 2 million, maybe you can put that into like dividend stocks and stuff like that. So you're receiving, quarterly dividends and things like that, whatever, right? It could be a thing where, you're earning enough money off of the back of that 2 million, where you've not touched the principal, you've not touched the actual 2 million, but you're still making money off of it where you can live an okay lifestyle. Like you're not rich. So again, you are having to budget, but you can live on that. And to me, that's what financial freedom is. It may not be that, you're literally, out balling and doing whatever you want to do, but you're not having to work. Like your time is your time. You can do what you want and you're not having to worry about getting a job. Like you can make it work. So to me, that's what financial freedom is. Now, maybe his interpretation of it is very different. Like maybe he's thinking, I look at financial freedom as basically being rich. I just look at it as you can do whatever the hell you want and you haven't got to worry about money. I don't know. But to me, like it is all about perspective. And this is why, when I talk about crypto, I talk more about life-changing wealth than I talk about rich, right? Because again, life-changing wealth can be subjective to each person, right? So, like for one person, life-changing wealth could be $100,000 so they can pay off their house, they can pay off their mortgage, right? Whereas to another person, $20,000 could be life-changing wealth because it could be the thing that gives them the money to make their own business, and they could then go on to start their own business and be hugely successful from that. That was their life-changing wealth. That helped them get them on the step to building up their own business. Another person could be, let's just say, really down on their luck and they just need like $1,000 for a surgery that they can't afford. They could get that $1,000 from investments and then be able to do that surgery or something. Like everything is going to be subjective, but that's why I talk more about life-changing wealth, because that can be subjective to each person. Everybody's got their own idea of what life-changing wealth is, right? Now, of course, everybody would, like to be rich. I get that, but we've got to look at this through, a realistic lens, right? Because this is the thing. Even if people have got over 20,000 XRP tokens, even if they've got more than that or whatever, and XRP does go higher, it is going to come down to as well, are you going to sell at the right time? Are you going to be able to manage the money, manage the wealth? So there is other factors that are going to come into this, of course. So I do think there are other things that need to be considered. But yeah, like I do think at the end of the day, I do think it is possible to become financially free from XRP. But again, I think it comes down to your perspective. Can you manage the money right? Now, look, when I'm saying that, I'm not trying to say that this $100 is going to happen, because I don't know. I have no idea if that will happen. I know it's possible. Like that is actually a realistic thing that could happen. But, if you used to say to me, well, when could that happen by? I have no idea. I don't know. So I'm not here to give you guys any kind of like false hope of saying this will happen or give you a time frame. I'm just saying it's possible. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it's possible. So yeah, like I do think this is an interesting topic of conversation. And like I say, like when I say what's possible, XRP could go higher than $100. That is possible, right? When I say triple digits, you know, above $100 is possible. So you never know. It could be that it goes higher. But I think this is one of those things where it comes down to perspective, because again, life-changing wealth. Many people probably look at life-changing wealth as I want $1 million, or I want to be a millionaire, multimillionaire, or whatever. But again, for me, life-changing wealth is very subjective. I think life-changing wealth is anything that's going to change your life. So, you know, if I was to, for example, get $100 out of XRP, that's not life-changing wealth to me, because there's nothing that $100 can do for me in my life that I can't do myself already, right? I can easily, you know, do $100 out of my own account. So that's not going to help me in any way, shape or form. But for example, if I could pay off my house, that's different. That's life-changing, right? That's a whole different thing. So this is why I'm saying life-changing wealth is anything that's going to change your life. Anything that's going to be significant for you, to you, that's going to change your life is life-changing wealth. And so again, it's about the perspective. So I am saying I do think this is possible, that you can achieve financial freedom, but I do think it is going to come down to things about money management. And this is the other thing, sorry, just to take it a step further. Like, when I'm talking about, you know, trying to sustain this wealth, like, what are you prepared to do to sustain the wealth? So, for example, the individual here is speaking about taxes in like Texas and things like that. Well, you know, there's countries that don't charge you tax at all. So are you willing to make sacrifices? Are you willing to maybe go to the UAE, to Dubai, for example, that doesn't have taxes at all? So, like, this is what I mean. Like, this is where I say when it comes to like financial freedom, you're not rich. So it's like there are going to be times where you may have to make sacrifices to make it work, to not, you know, end up having a job. So it might be that you might have to go out of a country or an area, like a state in America, if the tax is ridiculous. Like if it's very expensive in a certain area, well then, yeah, you might think, okay, I need to get out of this state, or I need to move to another country because the taxes here are just ridiculous. I can't do it, you know? So this is where you have to think about things on a deeper level. Like, what are you willing to do to sustain this? So it is possible, but I think it's all about your perspective. But yeah, definitely an interesting topic here. And that's why I just wanted to give you like my take on it, because I do think it's something where, you know, if you've got the right mindset, I do think it's possible, but you have got to consider factors about what you are willing to do to make it financial freedom. You know, I do think that is kind of a subjective kind of thing. So that's just my perspective on it. I hope this has helped anyway, just to give you another type of point of view. But yeah, I do think this is possible. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.